Well, thank you so much, Morley, for the time and the opportunity to chat to you. Always very very interesting to hear what you have to say and get some information from you on this fascinating field of work. So if we can just start, many of our live blood practitioners would not really be familiar with your work. So
Mm.
perhaps, firstly, if you could just, especially for those who are not familiar with the root cause protocol, if you could perhaps explain how its organizing paradigm
Mhm.
is unique, in the world of healing.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the opportunity to frame that and get people to understand what the core principles are. Um, we live in a world where there are many different modalities of healing. You've got naturopathy, homeopathy. We can talk to chiropractors, osteopaths, uh, allopathic physicians, many different channels of healing. But what they all overlook are the minerals that are the spark plugs of life. And what, for whatever reason, I seem to have been drawn into this world of mineral metabolism, was totally unaware of it. Even though I went in college, I was a biology major and worked in the healthcare field for 32 years. No one ever talked about minerals. And during the resolution of a healing crisis, my chiropractor, who is now my wife, I might add, um, she used a phrase I'd never heard in 32 years of working in hospitals. She talked about an innate healer, the healer within. I'd never heard that phrase before. And I didn't say anything to her at the time, but I pledged to myself that I was going to find out who the innate healer was. Because if there was one, my first reaction was, well, we have millions of doctors around the world. Why do we need those doctors if we have an innate system? That was fascinating to me. And through a series of events that I won't go into a lot of detail, I was introduced to different minerals, magnesium, then iron, then copper, and then came to realize that copper is, in fact, at the top of the pecking order. That copper is the only mineral on planet Earth that can regulate both iron and oxygen at the same time. Now, why is that important? Well, you can't make energy until you turn oxygen into water inside the mitochondria, and that releases the energy molecules. And invariably, just like when we're driving our car, we give off exhaust. So 90% of the energy made in our body is made in the mitochondria. 90% of the exhaust is made in the mitochondria. And what is unique about copper is it is, again, the only element that plays a catalytic role to both create energy and clear exhaust. Now, why is this important? Well, people are probably familiar with the Merck manual. It's certainly the Bible of allopathic medicine. I'm not sure whether naturopaths salute that text or homeopaths or otherwise. But within the world of mainstream medicine, doctors take that textbook very seriously. There's 20,000 different conditions profiled in the Merck manual. And guess what they all start with? Oxidative stress. And what is oxidative stress? Well, the formal term for oxidative stress is cellular energy deficiency. That's a phrase that was coined by Douglas Wallace, who's a famous geneticist and biologist here in the States at Children's Hospital of Pennsylvania. And what he was challenging his scientific and clinical colleagues is you don't understand how energy is made in the body. And so oxidative stress is an opportunity cost. Because if you're not turning oxygen, O2, into two molecules of water, you will have some variation of oxygen. It's going to start out as superoxide. It's going to become hydrogen peroxide. It might evolve into the hydroxyl radical. And these oxidants, as they're called, accidents with oxygen, but these oxidants form the basis of the oxidative stress that creates the cellular energy deficiency. And within the root cause protocol, we just shortened the word to fatigue. So we're not talking about chronic fatigue. We're talking about systemic fatigue, systemic cellular energy deficiency. And what I think is important for people who follow and practice the live blood analysis is that there is no disease. There is no disease. But you have amazing technology to look at the dynamics of how the body responds to a loss of cellular energy. And what we do have is stress-induced mineral dysregulation. And we have mineral dysregulation, we're going to have metabolic dysfunction. And the metabolic dysfunction is going to create a loss of energy, but it's also going to create a lot of symptoms. You pick up these symptoms in your live blood analysis. But the important thing for people to realize is that a very important model to keep in mind is we've all been in a post office. When you go in a post office, there's a whole series of post office boxes, right? And they all have a different key or combination to open them up. And we've been trained within medicine to look for the key or the combination to open up that particular condition and treat that condition, and then treat another condition, and then yet treat yet another condition, and see them as completely separate and distinct. Well, when I was in college, I worked in the mailroom at the university. I didn't need a key or a combination because I was on the other side of the box, and I had access to everyone's mailbox. And that's the way the minerals work. Once you understand the power and the majesty of minerals and what their relationship are to each other, you have a tremendous capacity to influence the health and well-being of the people. And so what we put tremendous stock into is restoring cellular energy deficiency. And then we get out of the way because the body knows exactly what to do. There is a blueprint for our immune system. And guess what it runs on? It runs on energy. And if we don't have that energy, the body doesn't know what to do. And the part that we didn't know, is that they didn't tell us that there are certain nutrients that are needed to make energy. And if you don't have magnesium, if you don't have copper, if you don't have retinol, if you are making other choices in your supplement routine, you're not going to make optimal levels of energy. And so that's really what we focus on is the phrase that we use, and I think I might be jumping ahead, but one of the phrases that we use is to ignore the enemies and ignite the energy. And so practitioners are trained to, again, find that mailbox, identify the enemy, figure out the key or the combination. But what we focus on is let's reignite the capacity of the body, the organ, the tissue to make energy. And then the immune system takes over. The mitochondria take over. They know exactly what to do to bring homeostasis back. And it's just a very different paradigm of healing. It's one based on energy, not based on enemies. So hopefully that gives you some added perspective of what makes our stance a little bit unique in the world of healing.